What's good, everybody? It's your girl, Shar, and I just want to thank you for tuning into the Surviving Your 20s podcast, where we teach you how to survive, thrive, and live your best life in your 20s. No matter your situation, no matter your circumstances, no matter where you come from, we're all about elevating. We're all about pushing you to your best self, okay? And speaking of best self, it's 2022. We crossed over into the new year. Thank God, first of all, because a lot of people were just losing it, especially with COVID coming around. People couldn't spend time with their family for the holidays. It's just been like limbo. People, the vaxxed, the unvaxxed, everybody's got something to say. And it's just been crazy. But I'm so grateful to God that you are here and that we've made it. And so I'm really excited for this episode today because I feel like it's going to help you. It's going to help you and uplift you so that you can start 2022 strong. I was about to say 2020. Oh, God. But so you can start 2022 strong, okay? Stronger with a new mindset, and so that you can move forward and be your best self, okay? First things first, let me tell you something. It doesn't even feel like a new year. It feel like I was continuing from last year. I mean, obviously that's what it is, right? But you know that new year feeling where you feel like you got to get your life together. You got to clean your house. You got to do all these things, change your curtains, X, Y, and Z. I didn't feel like that. A spur of excitement didn't come over me, and that's probably for a couple of reasons. One, because when I turned 25 in July, I mentally noted that as my new year. So I kind of am trying to implement this thing where it's like 25, 26, like on my birthday, it's a new year. It's a new beginning for me. That's probably number one. And then number two, I wasn't in church on the new year, so your girl was home. Usually I'm in church with a whole bunch of singing and dancing and getting crazy, I actually never brought the new year in a club. Wow, right? Coming from me, crazy. But I've always went to church. And since Corona, the narcissist, the self-absorbed person, she wants to show her face. Church was canceled. I mean, they had online service, but it's just something about being in church on New Year's that gives you that vibe. Jesus is with me. But honestly, I'm just excited for the new year. Are you excited? Are you excited? How are you feeling? What are some of your goals? What did you write down? Because I want to know. Send me a DM, write me an email. I am so curious to know because, listen, I'm interested in your goals, okay? I'm interested in your New Year's resolutions. I know it sounds corny. People are always talking about, oh, you think you're going to change in one day? I had a revelation about that. I know I'm starting this podcast off on a rant, but I had a revelation about that. If someone says they want to change on January 1st, then let that be their thing. Don't assume, because some people say that and they actually follow through. And some people say that and they don't. But for the ones who don't, let's not put it on everybody. Let's not let that be everybody's portion, because it's not. Some people make a declaration and they stick to it for the rest of the year, and better yet, for the rest of their lives. So don't let it discourage you if you had a New Year's resolution and you're trying to get yourself together. Don't let nobody stop your shine, okay, B? All right, so it's 2022, and I started this new segment on my podcast where you guys can ask me questions, and I actually got my first question, so I'm super excited to answer it because, listen, the fact that people are asking me questions... Somebody call Ayalana Van Zant or whatever her name is. Somebody call Oprah, Tyra. Give this girl a shout, okay? Somebody asked me a question. So let me read it to you guys, and then I'm going to give you my insight, all right? So it's super short. It says, "Hi, I love your podcast. I listened to the episode where you spoke about setting healthy boundaries. What are some ways I can set boundaries as it relates to my time? I'm always overextending myself and saying yes when I really want to say no. I want to say no, but I'm afraid people won't like me. What can I do?" This question was perfect for the new year because I feel like a lot of us are struggling with setting boundaries based on how we grew up, or we're afraid of people's perception of us. So we're constantly going back and forth with like, how much access do I allow this person to have to me? Or how do I say no without being disrespectful? And I honestly can say that I'm still learning how to set boundaries. Like, I feel like you will forever be learning. And that's just my opinion. Like, based on where you are in life, who you're friends with, your job, your family members, based on their growth, like, you constantly have to adjust and navigate your boundaries, because the key thing here is saying no. And some people struggle with saying no. And I used to be that person, like, jumping up at the drop of a dime when somebody wanted something. And I was like, yeah, I'm coming. Okay. Like, I was always that person that was like, yes, 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 yes. And honestly, people aren't going to like you regardless. So whether you say yes or no, like, there's going to be people that don't like you regardless. So you might as well just stand on your no and mean it. Now, for practical steps on saying no, practice in the mirror. I'm not lying. Like, get a conversation going in your head and look at yourself in the mirror and say, honestly, I'm not available to do that. But, if I have any more free time, I can probably do that for you. You don't, it doesn't have to be an aggressive no. I think sometimes people feel like no is just like, it has to be aggressive and you're lashing out. And honestly, I feel like us not being able to say no and having a hard time hearing no comes from like our childhood. So we're brought up in a society and an environment where we just want to hear yes. You're a child. My mother says I can't go here, and she says no. You were like having tantrums. Can I get this candy? No. Can I do this? Can I go to the park? No, no, no. Like, so it's kind of like almost like rejection, like our feelings are hurt because we didn't get what we wanted. But honestly, when you think about your mental health, think about your time, you think about how much time people take from you, like, you have to regain your strength, your voice to say no. So practice in the mirror would be one. Another thing I would say is to just embrace the people who respect your boundaries. Another thing I would say is people are going to change based on if you say yes or no. Like, if you're a person who's always saying yes to someone and then they get a hard no, they might lose it because they see you and perceive you as this person who's always constantly saying yes. They see you as a person who they can use. And honestly, who cares, right? Like, you have to worry about protecting your peace. And so if that means that this person is no longer in your life because you're not saying yes to them, then so be it. That's just how the cookie crumbles. So number one, practice saying no. Number two, accept the realities of saying no. So don't be delusional like, oh, I'm going to say no and these people are still going to love me. They might, yeah, and they might not. So accept both realities. In reality, if you've been overextending for a long period of time, I think it's about time you think about yourself. Like, it's not going to hurt you to think about yourself, okay? Because at the end of the day, you cannot pour from an empty cup, baby. You cannot. All right? You cannot give what you do not have. All right? Period. So speaking of that, we're going to get into the topic. I feel like that was a good question for us to get into the main juicy topic for today. But before I get into that, I want to say something real quick. Khloe Kardashian and Tristan Thompson is the prime example of not setting boundaries. This is what happens when you continuously allow someone to take advantage of you and your character. That's the first thing that came up in my mind. Because last week 2 weeks ago, because I was on a little break, 2 weeks ago, I was talking about how these girls out here need to get it together. You know what I'm saying? How you cannot be out here playing yourself and making these men take you for Bobo the Clown. Now Tristan, he's done it again. And that's what I'm saying. It doesn't matter how much money. It doesn't matter what he has. So if you guys don't know, Khloe Kardashian is a Kardashian. Like, who doesn't know her, right? But then Tristan Thompson is a basketball player and he got another girl pregnant. Now to say like, oh, this is like, and this is what I'm saying. You're wishing for what these people have sometimes and you don't know the struggle. Love is not hard. Okay. Love is not hard. And so setting boundaries, like saying like, even though this is my child's father, I do not have to be with him because I am valuable. Okay. I do not have to be with him because I'm setting boundaries for myself. I am more important than that. Okay. So y'all give a praise. Somebody play some music for Khloe Kardashian. I pray that she finds healing because we know she's going to be quoting us all throughout 2022. Girls, if you have your heart broken, go on her page. She's going to be quoting us out till 2022. The topic for today is going to be related to setting boundaries in a way, but it's directed towards your parents. Don't fight me, y'all. I'm going to give you and your parents a good read. And so this topic is parental expectations. Like, I can tell you that a lot of us, including myself, have struggled from the expectations of our parents. Like, you have gone through some mess or felt inadequate based on the expectations that your parents have for you. Now, parents, I appreciate you having high expectations for your children, as you should. But there's a fine line between like having expectations and being overwhelmingly controlling. And so for you to survive in your 20s, we literally have to overcome expectations, period. But let's break it down and start within the home. You're just a product of like two people coming together and you had no idea like what life was going to entail for you. So I'm here to guide you through parental expectations and almost relieve you from the burden and the guilt, because a lot of us are walking around with guilt from feeling like we're not doing a lot for our parents and also feeling like we should be doing more and we should give back and do all these things because they're our parents. But I'm here to debunk everything for you. I'm here to break it down to the ground. Okay. All right. So let me give you a little backstory. For me, it's only up until recently that I realized that I was walking around with expectations as it relates to what my parents thought I should be, or what this idea of who I thought I should be in my head based on their expectations. Are you flowing with me? Are you rolling with me? Let me know if that has ever happened to you. Like, you're sitting here and let me give you a great example. So in my head, I thought that I wanted to be a nurse. And in my head, I really didn't want to be a nurse. Like, nothing about me screams nurse. If I see blood, I'm running. I'm out. I'm gone. I don't want to see it. I don't even want to touch my own blood. Like, I cannot even stand the sight of anything that has to do with blood. I actually was in the nursing program. Fun fact, from 9th grade to 12th grade, I graduated from that program and I got my CNA. I worked at the nursing home doing my clinicals and everything. And child, I was done. I was completely done. Okay. Once they said Hoyer lift, and if you don't know what a Hoyer lift is, baby, look it up right now. Okay. No shade. I had this big patient. She had to be 400 pounds, like huge. And they told me to get the Hoyer lift. Girl, my back, okay? Me lift with a machine. It's just me, the machine, and another. I was done, okay? So I knew nothing about me screams nurse, okay? Everything. Shout out to the nurses out there. I respect you. I love you. And I appreciate you, But nothing about me screams I could be a nurse. So I did that program to kind of propel me into my nursing career. And then I also felt like I needed to go to school to be a nurse and these things. And I'm like, where is this coming from? So I felt like I needed to be a nurse because in my household, that's where the money is at. Y'all following me? If you have Caribbean parents, you know that sometimes they'll sit there and be like, you have to be a doctor. You have to be a lawyer. You have to be a nurse. You have to make something out of your life. And they believe that the something is one of those careers. Like, it's not a videographer, it's not a photographer, it's not a lash tech, it's not a hairstylist, it's not a nail tech, it's not an entrepreneur. It's work for somebody else so you can have money and stability. And I feel like sometimes, because maybe they're in a foreign country, like, I'm gonna extend grace, because you coming from a foreign country ultimately alters like the way you look at things. So you're more so into stability, which is understandable. But I feel like the projection of that on your children is absolutely insane. And it does a lot of damage, because now your child is growing up thinking that they are supposed to be X, Y, and Z. It's not what they want to be, but they feel like they have to be that because of you. Now, as a child growing up, I always was singing, I always was dancing, I always was playing on the computer, figuring out how it works. Like, that was my childhood. I was creative, I always wrote, I always was doing poems. Enroll me in anything creative. That's what I'm doing. And although I done well for myself academically, I could say that creatively, that's when my brain was just like high. Like, I just had the best results because I was just like, this is what I love to do. So nothing about me screamed like, oh, she's gonna be a doctor or nurse. I guess because I had good grades, it kind of just was like, oh, projection. Even some of my like aunts and stuff were like, oh, I could see you marrying like a white man. Where is this expectation coming from? Who said, like, what? Me marrying a white man? Like, where does that even come from? But I'm saying, like, the expectation that people are living, parents are sometimes living vicariously through their children. I'm going to tell you a quote from Elon Musk. And Elon Musk says, "My children didn't choose to be born. I chose to have children. So they owe me nothing and I owe them everything. And that sticks with me as I raise my son." Like, your parents honestly chose to have you, point blank, period. It doesn't matter your situation. It doesn't matter your circumstances. They chose to have you. Understand that. So during the season in which they created you, they could have been struggling. They could have been going through trauma. They could have been not even fully coming to themselves or understanding the responsibility that it takes to really care for and nurture a child, right? And so we give them grace in that aspect. But in the same breath, some parents in turn want you to turn around and help them. They want you to turn around and live their dreams because they didn't live their own. And so I'm here to relieve you from that burden, because if you're someone who is just trying, like, say your family is not as progressive and your parents are working 9 to 5, so they don't see any other way out for you. They only see doctor, lawyer, or any job that has to relate with money. You in turn feel like you have to do this to please your parents so that you can pay them back for what they've done for you. Now, your child, like, when you're growing up, you're honestly just is a cause and cause and effect. You're reacting to situations that happen to you throughout your lifetime. And so sometimes you may feel guilty if you don't have something, right? And so you're constantly working hard because you feel like it's your responsibility to take care of your parents, and it's not. I said that, and I'm just letting you know that don't fight me for this, because I know we're breaking generational curses. So let's start with that one. It's not your responsibility to take care of your parents. If you want to do something for your parents, it's because you want to do it. That's the key word. Want, not because you have to do it. And I'm really getting like hyped off this topic because so many times I hear people talking like, oh, I have to do this. The reason why I worked at 17, being honestly transparent, is because I thought that I had to. Like, I thought I have to work because I have to help and I have to be this person. When in reality, it's just like, I don't. My focus should have been on school. My focus should have been on trying to, progress in a skill or just be a child. It's not all about, I know a lot of us had to grow up fast because maybe, parents couldn't handle it. But let me tell you something. Adjustment is a thing. Like, we're constantly changing. Life is changing. And so I feel I'm sorry if your parents couldn't adjust, and it's not your fault. Like, if you needed someone to tell you like it's not your fault, it's not your fault. Okay? So if your parents can't adjust, or if you see like they're stuck in their ways, fine. But also let it be known, like, hey, I'm not here to take care of you. Like, you had your years, you had your time to do X, Y, and Z on this earth. And I know that you felt like you took care of me and you did X, Y, Z for me, but respectfully, I didn't ask to be here. Respectfully, that's what you're supposed to do. Like, and if you didn't do it, the government would have done it. Not that I wanted to be, the government's care, but if this person didn't do it, then somebody else would have done it, or I would have been up for adoption. And so many other options. So parents sometimes try to guilt trip you into feeling like, oh, I've done this for you. I carried you for 9 months. I brought you into this world. I could take you out. Like, where's this toxicity coming from? And especially in the Black community, I noticed that we in turn feel guilty because we're not doing enough for our parents. And guess what? If you're 25, like me, or even if you're 18, what can you do? You just came out of school. You know what I'm saying? Like, and think about it, parents, honestly, if you're constantly instilling great values in your children and you're telling them that they could be anything that they want to be as a child, when does the burden, where does that come from at like 18? You tell your child, you could be a police officer, you could be a firefighter, you could be anything you want to be. Where does the burden come from? Right? Like, why do we turn from you could be anything you want to be to now you could be anything you want to be as long as you take care of me? You get what I'm saying? So if you're having like these thoughts or feeling inadequate because your parents have placed a parental expectation on you, I'm here to remind you that it's not your fault. So how to get over the parental expectation? If you're living in your parents' house, I know the 20s, we're living with our parents. They have an expectation for me. I'm telling you right now, don't enroll in that school and take up that major if it's something you absolutely know for a fact you wouldn't be doing. Like, if you had your own money, your own funds, and you were living by yourself, would you take up that same major? You wouldn't, right? So that's step number one. Like, figure out what you want for yourself. Sometimes we're overly consumed with what people want for us, what the pastor wants for us, what the sister wants for us, what somebody else wants for us. We're not looking to what God wants for us, and more importantly, what desires we have within us ourselves. So it's going to take some self-searching. It's going to take for you to really say, hey, what do I want for myself? What do I see out of my life? Like, what is my purpose actually here on earth? Because whatever school you go to should align with your purpose. Like, we start thinking about purpose at 18, or we're getting older now, when we should have really been thinking about it from young. However you were when you were younger is most likely aligning with where you are right now, or what you want to do right now. Tell me I'm lying. Tell me I'm lying, baby. I am not a lion, okay? So figure out yourself. What is it that you want to do, okay? Honestly, if you're living with your parents, this is not a okay to disrespect them or, tell them about themselves, because if you had any Caribbean parents, they'll slap you real quick. Not that I'm condoning slapping or beating, but you know your portion, and the belts, all right? My father used to call the belt Tarzan, but let me not even get into that. This is not a sign to disrespect your parents. Like, I'm not telling you to go off on a rant and tell them, well, Shar said that I ain't gonna do. No, maybe it's more so you understanding, like, or understanding them, number one. Don't think like it's all about you. It's all about you. Sometimes we got to look into their mindset, how they were brought up. Why are they thinking like this? And then ultimately say, hey, I'm in America. I kind of don't want to do the 9 to 5 thing. And even if I do go to school and I do it for a little bit, I have plans on being an entrepreneur. I have plans on starting my own business. So I'm going to go to school for business, and it may not pay out for 5 years, but I'm going to stick to it, X, Y, and Z. And at 18, if they choose like, hey, you're not following my rules and you're not doing what I want to do, like you have to plan to get up out of there. You hear me? This is coming from me. This is coming from me. I know people who have sat and thought to themselves, like at 18, like, I don't know why I didn't think like that. And maybe because I didn't think it was possible. But at 18, kids are saying to themselves, like, I got to get out. Like, I cannot live under this house, these restrictions. And I feel like parents, it shouldn't be that way. Like, your kids don't turn 18 and then they have a wide range of knowledge all of a sudden. And I notice sometimes we just feel like, oh, wait till you're 18. You're 18. You're an adult now. No, like there are actual steps and things that you need to implement into your children for them to be a well-rounded adult. Like, it's not going to come out of thin air. And so if you're watching this, you're 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, like the best thing that you can do if your parents are not instilling these things into you is to go outsource it from somewhere else, from reading, from going to the library, picking up books, from listening to podcasts and listening to other people's stories. Okay. Because it's not going to come at 18. And I wish it did. I thought when I was 18, like, I'm going to get it together and I'm going to have this and I'm going to finish school in 4 years and I'm going to come out. I'm going to stunt on everybody in the hood and I'm going to walk. No, baby, that did not happen. Like, I would say, like, I came into my adulthood at like 22. Okay. And that's because I had to learn and take my time and actually be a grown up, okay, paying my own bills. And it was the most liberating feeling because nobody's asking me, oh, why are you making YouTube videos today? Or why you making so much noise? Why are you trying to do this? Da, da, da. I had my own space to think. Okay, to be like, this is what I want to do with my life. And it also made me more mature and appreciate the value of items and how much it costs to pay your rent and how much it costs to do these things. Because honestly, before I was just stuck on, oh, you're my parent, you should take care of me, da 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 da, you know. And sometimes if your parents don't have that mindset to take care of you until you get it together, unfortunately, sweetheart, you're going to have to, well, fortunately too, you're going to have to take care of yourself. It's 2022 and I wanted to start the message off with parental expectations because I wanted to take it back to like the very basics and the beginning. And I know that, you know, I asked you to evaluate like where you are now, but I also want you to evaluate like the very beginning of like why you feel burdened. The Bible says that the burden is not ours, it's the Lord's, because that's bare facts. Like, it's not ours to carry. So that means the parental expectation burden, that's not ours. That is not of God. Like, the good we accept, like, oh, I want you to do better in school. Not be perfect or be a perfectionist, because nobody's perfect, right? But also allowing us to have room to make mistakes and grow from our mistakes and learn at our own pace, because everyone is different. Everyone learns differently. Everyone processes things differently. Everyone is creative differently. Some people are better at math. Some people are better at dancing. Not everyone was born with rhythm, and not everybody was born with taste, right? For parents, my advice would be to, you know, give your child some grace as it relates to their learning process, their patterns. And even if they're really good at something, don't overwhelm them and give them this great big expectation, because you're going to constantly try to fill that expectation through doing a lot of irrational things. So parental expectations in a toxic way leads to us being grown adults, trying to please people, trying to serve people, even when we shouldn't be, right? So I just want you to evaluate like your parental situation. If there were any expectations put on you. And this could be from like a parent, a aunt, whoever raised you, a guardian, whoever was an influential person in your life that honestly expected something from you, got disappointed, and you didn't fulfill this and you feel like a failure. I'm here to free you in 2022. Okay. We are no longer going off of what our parents feel is right for us, what this person feels is right for us. We're going with what God says is right for us. We're going with what our spirit tells us is right for us. Okay. Don't feel guilty because you ain't buy your mama a house or your daddy a car. Like, it's a-okay. All right. You're probably still trying to pay your bills and you're eating ramen noodles for dinner. Like, I know we thought that we were going to be millionaires by 25, settle down, having 3 children and living this posh life. But the reality of it is that is not how it goes. Okay. And life is not a fairy tale. So honestly, I'm freeing you from parental expectations or any expectations from people, period. And my expectation and prayer for you in 2022 is to just live your truth. Like, try something new, start a business, write a plan, make it plain, and focus on what it is you really want to do. Like, put your hand on your heart right now and search your heart. Meditate on what it is you feel like the Lord has called you to do here on this earth. Because it would be a shame if you sat here trying to be somebody that you weren't supposed to be, and now you're 40 and you're angry at everybody else because you've been sitting playing a role that you weren't supposed to play based on somebody else's expectations. So I'm freeing you today. I hope that you guys enjoyed this episode of Surviving Your 20s podcast. I feel like I'm free. I feel like I could Harlem Shake and Millie Rock because I feel like the atmosphere is club. I hope that we can connect through Instagram at Surviving 2.0. And if you have any questions or you have something that you want to get off your chest and you want me to share it on the podcast, please email me at surviving20spod@gmail.com. So that's surviving20spod@gmail.com. I love you guys, and I'll see you in the next episode. Happy New Year.